Interrupted, and then after that the conversation will be interspersed with some music. But we're lucky to have you listening to us. Nairobi 88.8 is the frequency, Mombasa 90.7, www.rjk.co.ke is our worldwide frequency. Spread the word.
Yeah, man, and remember that this particular open mic hour is gonna be live on YouTube, is gonna be live on Facebook. We're already live on X from 7 p.m. all the way till 10 p.m. So you are actually spoiled for choice. You decide how do you want to enjoy this particular product. And as always, niliandika introduction ingine noma sana. So Emmanuel, without further ado, can I read this particular well written, very thoughtful, heartfelt introduction?
You guys, let's get it.
All right, let's get it. Tonight on the Wind Down, we're joined by Advocate Wakili Eliud Ngugi, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, accredited mediator, notary public, and commissioner of oaths. As a partner at Ngugi Mbuvu Advocates, he has built a career handling property law, commercial dispute, family law, and intellectual property matters. Beyond the courtroom, he is passionate about simplifying the law for everyday Kenyans and showing how justice can be more accessible. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our esteemed guest, Wakili Eliud Ngugi.
Yeah! Karibu sana bwana Wakili.
Thank you.
You're looking fresh as a daisy.
Daisy.
Yeah. You never heard that line? Fresh as a daisy.
Hiyo ni mpya.
Hiyo mwende muitumie. Itumie kotini kesho. Check it, Your Honor. Thank you for having me. You look fresh as a daisy. You get that case is gonna be yours.
It's Jacaranda season.
No, karibu sana bwana Wakili maze. You're sharing with us that you're going to run on Friday.
Yeah, I'm doing a send-off. My friends are doing a send-off. Around 60 people are doing a send-off. So they're coming to send me away as I prep to do my second major marathon in October.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing the Chicago Marathon.
All right. So this is in preparation for the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah, it's a send-off.
Okay.
So they're like,
we'll help you do the
longest. We'll help you do your long run, last long run, as you go for your second major marathon.
Chicago is how long?
42k.
Oh, so it's like 7 kilometers more than what you'll do on Friday.
Yes.
So you have a track set up in regard to how you run on Friday?
Yeah, there's a track, rubber track, and probably we shall have some water and some music. And shout out to my running buddies. I'm running with a friend of mine who is 72. And so he's starting his run at 2:30 a.m. Yeah, we're not night runners though, night runners.
Yeah.
Or normally.
Yes.
On other days other than Friday.
Your friend is 72 and he's running?
Yeah, he's running. He's doing I think 2 years ago he did Mount Everest. So last year we did London Marathon.
Okay, sorry. You may think. He did Mount Everest 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. He's done Mount Kenya several times, and what else? He's done London Marathon, I think, thrice now. Yeah.
Ish, maze. Bashir, what are we doing in this studio, bruh?
No, what are you doing? You're the one who's 40-something. I still have time.
Even me have time. That guy is 72.
You have 30 years.
I have 30 years, maze, to catch up. So how I met Wakili Ngugi.
Yeah.
All right. I was here with a lady called Maria Prude.
Yeah.
Maria Prude. Shout out to her.
Shout out.
And she was, we had a very nice conversation because you were in there.
Yeah.
I was so glad. Cheki Mungu Baba endelea kufanya vitu kama hizo. So, I think Chess posted a very nice clip from that, or Mesfin. And then Wakili here commented. And I was like, yo, Wakili maze. So I sent him a DM, haraka. Kamwambia, I need to link up with you and see, just sit down with you. We break bread. And I didn't know when I was sending you that message that, you used to do media in the past. I didn't know.
No, we met actually 2 years ago
at the other place
at a different setup at night.
Yeah,
still.
Was I there? Me?
Yeah, on air. There's evidence on YouTube.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yes, and you asked me some. Actually, I felt like these issues are personal. because you kept asking these questions and you're very passionate about the issues we were discussing on that show. So yeah.
First question. Now that you bring up personal issues, if I am married to someone, okay, and then this person we separate. We're not divorced, but we are separated, right? And then this individual goes and starts frolicking with some other person, okay? But bado mnaongea labda mnajaribu kutengeneza maneno, lakini kumbe behind your back huyu mtu labda anaongea na mtu mwingine fulani. Is it possible, all right, if at all the guy now, the aggrieved party, whether it's a wife or a husband, is it possible to sue that other guy? Because I read somewhere that I don't know how true it is, but under Kenyan customary law, you can sue somebody who is having relations with your spouse, Mazi.
Oh, so they're having relations?
Yeah, they're having sexual relations.
Are you legally married?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting bit. But you can go after that person unless you are going for a divorce. And you see, under our Marriage Act, my reading of the Marriage Act, I've read it so many times, there's no place where it provides that you can sue this person who is cheating with your spouse. Unless you wanted to just drag them in a court of law when you're going through the divorce process as witnesses.
Oh, okay.
Or as parties. They are called correspondents. So we are saying you, Emmanuel and Mary are married and you're now going through the divorce process, and you know Mary has been cheating with John. So you just add John as one of the parties in the case, to just make sure that, embarrass this person.
Yeah.
But unless I don't know, unless you can quantify and prove, I think some people have tried doing such things. You want to prove some emotional damages. The fact that this person has taken you through all this drama.
Pain.
And pain. But now, our law and our courts are courts of evidence. Karatas. Like you have to prove whatever you are claiming. So if you can prove that let's say your psychological troubles that have led you to visiting a psychiatrist and maybe even taking some drugs and going through that process were caused by these relations, then probably our courts will be very generous. And
so unasema lazima nitafute lazima mtu atafute evidence you get kwa karatasi. No, but it's interesting. How come adultery is not a criminal offense?
Criminal offense.
If at all you can prove it.
If at all you can prove it. These are these are private issues. These are private matters. Your sexual relations happen in private. So if then we are going to start frogging people to court and telling them, guys, come to court and I caught you, then our courts will be very dramatic, because can you imagine what we'll be showing in that courtroom?
Yeah.
What kind of evidence? Video evidence? And in the process of doing so, then we are getting into your personal matters. We're infringing your right to privacy under our constitution. So it wouldn't make sense. And there's nowhere in our penal code which now comes up with these criminal offenses that we have a crime called adultery.
Okay.
What we have are crimes like sodomy or sexual assault. But where there is pleasure, adultery has pleasure.
Yeah.
I don't think the law looks at it as an illegality. Yeah.
But it is in some countries.
Because there is consent between the two adults.
Okay.
But where there is no consent, and that's what the penal code is about.
Yeah.
Where there is no consent, then that becomes an illegality under the penal code, and you find yourself even getting imprisoned for 10 years, 20 years for such crimes.
Oh, okay.
And even putting into the fact that if you are committing this offense with someone who is underage, then it becomes even more severe.
Yeah, definitely.
Under the Sexual Offences Act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come even if two people have kosana, Bashir kabla utupe swali yako, have hogged like 20 minutes already?
Is it personal?
No. No, I'm just curious. How come if people are doing a divorce, for example, and these two parties, they both want to divorce, how come the lawyer has to get very damning evidence? You know, some like niambie ni nini ilifanyika, like it has to be, you know, like on the edge. Is there something you gain the more the evidence or experiences you share after the declaration of the divorce?
You see, my approach and my school of thought is that you should not wash your dirty linen in public, because our law is fault based. In terms of our divorce law is not fault based, so you don't need to prove what we call sometimes beyond reasonable doubt, all these things, as long as you can just allege that there was cheating, or there was living, or there was cruelty, and someone abused you, and there was emotional abuse, and there was psychological abuse, or even that there was lack of sexual there was no sexual relations in that marriage. You don't have to now come with proof, evidence, trying to show, actually, here is a passport showing the stamps that this person has actually been away out of this country for the last 2 or 4 years. All you need to do is just allege, and this other person comes in. And what the law is on marriage, and the courts have in their judgment said, is that you cannot force two people who don't want to be together to stick together. So as long as you don't have to prove that fault, that's what the law is. But you will find if you go to a lawyer who does not practice, especially in this court, I have a privilege of serving in we call it the bar bench. I sit with, as lawyers, we sit with magistrates and judges to deliberate on how best to offer the services to the public. So from that sitting, we are able to discuss some of these things. And one of the things that the judicial officers encourage us is the fact that you don't need to come and drag this whole process. The rules are that you come in. If a person, your client, has alleged, then don't drag this process. Actually, don't even come with too much paperwork. The court is here to assist the two parties. You have proven, you have already been living separately. We don't need to now force you to continue being in this relationship. Actually, some people go to the divorce court having even moved on with someone else, or even started off the process of application of marriage at the AG's office. And so for practitioners who are not regular in this courtroom, those are the ones I would say come, and you as a client, they will tell you, bring all the evidence. Let's fight this, because there's no benefit at the end of the day in trying to paint the other person as a bad person.
There's no benefit.
There's no benefit because, there will just be a judgment. And if there are children in that marriage, you're still stuck with this person, because you're going to raise these children together. At some point, you're going to have contact. And also, we don't know about tomorrow and the future. Things change, where I've heard of situations where people have reconciled 2 or 3 years. They have reconciled and met and dated afresh, and even gone back and done a wedding. And now they're back together. Now imagine if you had gone with all this dirt and accused each other and probably put up these records. Also the court records are public. Any person can access these public records. So if you go with this and create these bad records, and you even had children, and later on they are grown-ups and they access this information and see what you said about your partner, then it becomes I don't think it's advisable for you to have gone that route. The children will just be looking at you and wondering, why did you have to say such things about dad or mom?
You look petty.
Yeah. So I have a question, because I come from a different, like I'm Muslim, and I think at some point my parents wanted to say, at least my mom wanted a separation or something like that. So it never happened, but I just want to know how these other laws, these cultural religious laws interact with now the laws of the land. Like, we have Sharia laws, we have all this, like what is that relation like in terms of now the law, like Kenyan law, like how does that work?
So, one, I'll take you to the Constitution of Kenya, which acknowledges cultures and even beliefs. And from that angle, when it comes to marriage, also, previously before 2014, we had different sets of law. So you would find that there is a African marriage, an act around that. You will find that there was the Christian Marriage Act. You would find that there was a Hindu Marriage Act. You would find, all these many other acts. Then around 2014, Parliament found it right to condense all these laws into one law, which is now the Marriage Act 2014. And in this Marriage Act, it came and recognized that you could be Muslim, Hindu, cultural, an African who has culture and follows the cultures, or you could even be educated and you follow the civil marriage. And so they came and gave the requirements for each one of them. They gave requirements that in each marriage category, you can choose to follow that particular law. But also, the Act also recognizes that like the Kadhis have powers and have been given authority to deal with Islamic marriages. So when it comes to Islamic marriages under the Marriage Act, it just dictates and says if the two parties were from that faith, then the jurisdiction is given to the Kadhi to deal with that marriage. And there is a talaq being issued, and they go through that motion that they understand better how to deal with that issue. Then on these other cultural marriages, they also look at the culture. Like recently there was a judgment, and when I say recently, I believe should be like a year ago or two, where like the Kisi, there was a case that came up about Kisi burial rights, where a man and a woman were married and they came from that community, and the brothers to the deceased person, who is the man who is the one who had died, had insisted that the body needed to be interred or buried up country. Yet the guys had a piece of land in Kamulu, and they insisted and said, according to the practices and the culture, this the fact that this man had built a house up country that had two doors, it meant that because of that culture, if you have a house that has two doors up country, it means you want it to be buried there, so that you go in using the front door and then you're taken to the burial site using the back door. But then they were questioning whether the Kamulu house had also the two doors and there was such an intention. And they said there was probably none. But then the law, the court actually looked at who was the last person or who spent the most time with this man who passed on. And they decided it's definitely the woman. And if the woman is insisting that this man should be buried in Nairobi and not up country, we should respect, because she might have more information and more details. So there was a conflict around the culture and those traditional practices.
So does the traditional practice take precedence in making, when they're making a conclusion? Like for example, after my dad passed on, I discovered there's something that we as Bukusus do. Bukusus are lunges, if you're listening and you're wondering. So there's a rite they do called lufu. So lufu means after the passing on of Mwenda Zake, after he's buried, after 3 days, the family gathers, and then the wife is sitting over there. It's quite elaborate. The neighbors also come. So at that ceremony, random neighbors can stand up and say, hey, professor amepass, lakini alikuwa na deni yangu ya 10 Gs. Because alikuja akachukua ng'ombe na hajanilipa bado, alafu sasa amekufa. Haya, mwingine anakuja aseme, hey, alipatia msichana wangu kazi, alafu akakufa, na msichana ndio alikuwa na mchunga akikufa. Meaning kuna fine ya sijui X. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then now the mom stands up and starts mentioning his properties. So anasema akona shamba pale, akona shamba pale, akona shamba pale. So I was being told, so now there's somebody taking minutes. So I was being told that those notes are actually used in court to like now when you're doing the succession, like those things, those notes, those minutes are actually admissible in court. I don't know if you've come across those things.
Yeah, culture is not ignored, and the cultural practices are respected. Whatever is done, and this reminds me that I was reading something about one of my lecturers posted about, I think she did a paper about how she was interrogating cultural practices versus women's rights, but the courts have always respected the cultural practices. But now from this other angle, after the Constitution 2010, there's still the conversation about equality and non-discrimination under Article 27, and the rights of each person being respected, dignity on the person being upheld by everybody. And so they were taking that and saying, if the Constitution already allows this, then why should we still stick to cultural practices that sometimes could be chauvinistic?
Yeah,
for
old
example.
school, yeah.
And so they just look at the men and forget about the women. And so we have found that some of these issues have come up in court. Some of these notes are brought. You find, for example, where there were sons and maybe 2 or 1 daughter, and people discriminate against this son, or actually people discriminate against the daughter. The courts have come in and said, no, the Constitution does not allow discrimination.
There was that school of thought of sasa huyu daughter ameenda kaolewa huko Homa Bay.
Yeah.
Sasa shamba yake iko huko Homa Bay. Sasa atakula mara mbili, atakula Homa Bay na kula Luandeti. But you must his argument. Like that's what guys say, anakula hapa na anakula pale.
Yes.
But those are the things which are saying are old school.
Those are the things which are, for lack of a better word, I would say they are outdated, because now we have equality, we have this feminism movement. But there, feminism is not what sometimes we think of being
anti-men.
Militant.
It's actually equality, making sure that we also consider all genders equally. And so sometimes when people go against, or rather people argue and put a sticker on themselves and say that I'm a feminist, probably they lack that understanding that it's all about equality. So when we look at the cultural practices, we look at men and women, when it comes to some of these rights, it comes to succession, the feminism angle comes in, and we say that the same way a man should not be discriminated, that's the same thing that we are looking at when it comes to equal sharing of resources, equal sharing of assets in a homestead, and saying that even if she was going to benefit in this other family, nothing stops her from getting a share from the parents.
Also atakula Homa Bay na kule Luandeti.
Atakula yote mbili, but also there are factors considered. When you look at Section 29 of the Succession Act, there are other factors that the court will look at in terms of distribution of these assets during succession process. It will not just be, okay, you're all boys and all girls. No, they will look at even your relationship to the deceased person, or to huyo mwenda zake.
Oh, okay.
How you treated your mother or your father during their last days. If you're able to come with, for example, receipts from the hospital and claim that you've been the one taking care of those bills.
Oh, okay.
The courts could
be swayed.
Swear.
Kama nilichunga madhe sana mno.
Uko na receipts?
The next family meeting, I really play this clip. Jackie, thank you for joining us, family. Let's just listen to this clip.
No, just one moment, brother Paul. Let's be civil here. Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
And this, because my dad passed away in 2019, and my dad was Muslim. He's the reason we're all Muslim, but he was initially Kalenjin. I think I even have a joke about that, because he basically changed faith into Islam because his first wife was Somali. So in order to marry his first wife, he had to convert and become a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
So when he passed, and you know how the Islam way is, you know, it's very quick, like in terms of burial. I remember even my big sister never got to see my dad getting buried, and obviously there was a lot of friction with now that side of the family, you know, because they are Christians, and they were like, mulizika kijana yetu kama umbwa. That is the exact what they said, you know. So in matters like that, because now there's a conflict between not just at the law, different cultures, you know, there's the Islam, and you know, there's the Christian, the traditional way how Kalenjins are supposed to bury their own. Like, is there a way they could have been like, no, we need to go to court and see if we can maybe even exhume the body and bury him the right way? Like, in that particular conflict of interest, how is something like that gonna be solved?
You know, one of the experiences that I have, the law does not, like, law school does not come with experience until you now start practicing law. Is something similar to that. I've been involved in trying to stop a funeral, by taking court orders at a funeral, and what the court most of the time will look at is what were the practices, what were the wishes of a person. And I keep saying this a lot of times, that probably you should plan your exit from this earth by especially writing a will, expressing it in writing, and having executors, and being able to have it clear out there that I want to be cremated. For example, I don't want you guys to waste money on a lot of things. Where he comes from, Emmanuel comes from, where it's a ceremony.
It's a whole.
We have to dance.
Die. Huh?
We have to dance on that
like
night.
a festival.
It's a festival.
Ndio afadhali kulikuwa na jamaa amevaa all white.
So to avoid such instances where, for example, you find families going and stopping, for example, a funeral, and not respecting your beliefs and your faith, if there was a will, then that would have been a good way to deal with it. If there was no will, and it was well clear and known that he subscribed to this faith that dictates that he has to be buried within certain hours, then that was the right thing to do. Because even if these other relatives were to try and, let's say, stop the funeral, I would wonder what reasons they would give.
Tungena tuingie kwa hiyo shimo.
No,
cheki, hakuna kitu inafanyika kwa hii shimo. Paka koti iongee.
Sometimes also the courts respect the dead.
Okay.
Let them rest.
Yeah.
Let them rest. So it becomes very difficult, unless even when you're trying to seek an exhumation because you want some DNA taken from this body, the courts will ask, is there an alternative? Is there an option to get the DNA from somebody else in that family other than the person who has passed on? Because they won't, they understand that these things are very emotional, and you don't want to just keep on acting or rather disturbing the dead. But the other day there was a case it was in the papers. Someone was finally some guys got some orders to exhume a body, and 13 years later we finally got orders to bury this body. This body had been in the morgue for 13 years.
What?
In Mombasa. Just because the siblings were disputing and fighting, and one of them was stating that because this person was The first family was saying that the second wife, who was living with this man, had ended up probably killing this man. And because they were billionaires, there were issues around who caused this death, and we want to get justice on this process. But then eventually, after this case went on and on for 13 years, we finally were able to bury this body. And even when they exhumed the body, because it happened after, I believe, around 6 months or 5 months, we were not able to collect any DNA. The body was decomposed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not like a timeless...
I don't understand that science, but that was recently in the news. Recently, like a month ago. Yeah.
So if my folks write a will, can I contest it?
Yes, you can. And I will ask you, why do you want to contest if you come to me and seek for my services? And we'll be able to, depending on your reasons.
So you gauge according to the reason?
Yeah, there are grounds that you can use to
labda
contest a
mepesi
will.
tangu corner plot na mimi nilikuwa naitaka. Cheki, no, the corner plot. Nilikuwa nishaanza kupanda sunflower.
What's up with you and daisies and sunflowers?
But
Jacaranda.
Jacaranda. I'll use Jacaranda on the next show.
Yeah.
But does that happen often?
It happens, but some of the reasons why you could contest a will would be, for example, if you are certain that the person was there was due influence. For example, due influence meaning that there was coercion. Just because, let's say, your sister was able to was living with, let's say, your mom, and they decided, I will make sure that I'm going to deny mom food unless she gives me the corner plot. You know, such form of coercion.
Yeah.
Or influence. So they just keep saying, if you don't give me that land, I'm not going to give you food. Utalala njaa. I will not do 1, 2, 3. I will not pay your hospital bill. Such due influence, for example. And so if you can prove that there was due influence when someone was writing a will, then you have a very good case.
Okay.
Secondly, if you are able to prove that the person who was writing the will was not in their right mind, sometimes senile, or rather we call it capacity. They didn't have capacity to do or to write that will. Maybe they were senile, they were mentally unstable. You know, those things that you look at and wonder, this person probably didn't know what they were doing. Then you can contest that will.
Okay.
3, you can contest the will if you can prove that these are the executors, the people who come and witness, were not all present at the same time when the execution was happening. So how well was this execution done? Or the witnesses, were they all in the same room, the way we are here in the same room? Did we see the person writing that will? Because one person can allege and say, that person, when they were in the room, they actually told her to give a corner plot to the sister and deny the boy child.
Oh, okay.
So there are reasons. So I would ask, what are these reasons that you have to contest?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move along to maybe another area. I was thinking about, say, if you're in a come-we-stay relationship. Okay, you're living with a lady or a gentleman, and you've stayed many, many years, but you've not gone to Sharia house. You don't have any certificate. If at all you want to separate, do you still have the same rights as someone who's married? For example, maybe if you want alimony, you want some sort of support, you want shares. Maybe you bought your partner bought property, and you are, maybe you didn't contribute, but you are there. You know that other contribution of you're living together in the same space. Unalipia nyumba, mimi nalipia hizi vitu zingine. So does a partnership which then have that certificate still have those rights?
So when it comes to marriage, the other day the Supreme Court made a mention on this one, and they said a wife in a marriage is defined differently from a wife in succession. And so, in a marriage situation or setup, the law under the Marriage Act 2014 makes it mandatory for any marriage to be registered. Let me repeat. All marriages, all marriages should be registered, whether they are customary or they are civil or Islamic or Hindu, they should be registered. And so, if you're in a come-we-stay marriage or relationship, it is currently not recognized as a marriage under the Marriage Act. And this will affect your claim when it comes to matrimonial property, because the court will ask you, are you a wife? No. Because if you are a wife, produce a marriage certificate.
You can't say yes but, no but.
No, you can't
Check,
say
are you a wife? No but.
The law is very clear.
Ndio picha yetu tukiishi pamoja.
The law is very clear. But when it comes to succession, there is what they call presumption of marriage, and the fact that a wife under the Succession Act can either be one traditionally married or one who is married legally. It could even be that side chick, as long as you can prove that they were a wife. So, and they don't have to produce a marriage certificate. So that's how the law currently looks like.
Well, that's now only in succession, right?
In succession, if you're a side chick, then what we shall do is we shall take you, and if you prove your case and say, I lived with this man, the neighbors saw us in the same house, we even have a child, we even maybe went shopping, went for holidays, here are the photos. I am a wife. I'm actually, if he claims that there was another woman, I am then the other woman, number 2 or number 3. If you can claim such a thing in succession, then you will get a share of the property. But when it comes to matrimonial property, where after the divorce you're claiming, I want a share of what we invested in together. I put in probably I transferred some M-Pesa for him to be able to contribute an installment in that property. The matrimonial property is going to ask you, show us, prove that you are actually a wife in this case, because it is taken under Article 45 of our Constitution that parties in a marriage are equal at the beginning, during, and at the end of a marriage. And then we define what marriage is. It is a registration of a man and wife coming together. So when we ask for that registration, then if you're just a girlfriend, then the solution I'll be giving to you, you're in a come-we-stay or a boyfriend, is just go to the magistrate's court and ask them to issue a declaration. Yeah. First, that you are recognized as husband and wife.
They can do that?
They can do that. They can issue such an order.
Yeah.
Then with that, we are able to go for matrimonial property and make a claim on whether you deserve to get 50% of what this other person has. But then the other factors. What is your contribution? Yeah.
Nilikuwa naamka kupika. You know, nowadays there are many house husbands.
Yeah.
Like hapo penye naishi hapo kuna jamaa fulani house husband baya sana. He normally goes to the shop, anangoja madam anatuma pesa directly hapo to till. Sasa zingine madam anachelewa, so anatoka nje na mpigia na mwambia weba. Nimesimama hapa kwa till. So such a gentleman can claim alimony if at all they separate, right?
We need to define what alimony is first. There's alimony and there's matrimonial property. So alimony is just sustenance for a set period of time if you can prove that you did not have an income at the end of a marriage. And this marriage needs to be registered. So if you can prove that that you are dependent on the other person, like that house husband, then you can make a case and say you'd like to continue receiving support from the woman and the court is going to give a period of time and say, okay, we shall order you for the next 1 year to pay to him 50,000 shillings or pay to him, you know.
Oh, it's not
That's
perpetual.
alimony. No, it's not perpetual. Otherwise, people will be taking advantage of each other.
Yeah,
I'll
I
just
thought
be getting into
Mazuna
relationships.
for life.
I'll get into some chicks who get into relationships with, for example, other men, or other men who get into relationships with women, because we've seen it. For the sake of the moment we get that certificate, then I look for a lawyer because I don't ever want to work after that.
Oh, it's a shortcut.
Yeah, a shortcut
be a
for
shortcut,
people.
yeah.
It could be a shortcut, so that's why it's not in perpetuity. It's for a period of time until you're able to get on your feet. But when you go through matrimonial property and you want to get a share of this property, and you are, for example, a house husband, you can claim that you were able to make your contribution, and your contribution was indirect, that even when you were washing the dishes or dropping the kids at the kindergarten, it allowed the lady more time to go out and become the CEO or become the manager of that company, and therefore you indirectly contributed to whatever income that came, and that money that came, or that property that you are able to own, even though it is not in your name, it is in the name of a lady, in the course of a marriage that she went and obtained, maybe even secretly, you have a share of that property. You should be getting 30% of that property. So if it's a rental, you should get your 30%.
So if you're the KJ is bringing 20 nguizis, ka 6 ngwani yako.
Hiyo ni yako, so you prove how you indirectly contributed. So you need a good lawyer.
Cheki nitumie hiyo 6 ngwa. No, but you, thank you, Maze. You're really educating us. Thank you for making the time. And I tell you what I'm getting, Bashir.
Yeah.
I think ignorance is not bliss, man. Like on both sides, you can get into trouble, and also you can lose a lot just because of ignorance, I guess. Is it expensive? Because people normally say, my lawyer. Is it expensive to retain a lawyer? I don't know if you... I've asked very basic. Like, if I want you to be my lawyer, do you have to... Is it on a case-by-case basis? They normally say retainer. Like, how does that work?
So different people will have different agreements. Just like any professional who is offering a service, we can have a different arrangement. And because, for example, you get into trouble every so often, and instead of us billing you every time we are showing up to represent you, or every time we need to work on an issue, then we can agree on a retainer, which is like basically employing me as your monthly. So every month you're making a payment, and we have an agreement. But then if it's on a case-to-case basis, for example, you need to go after this person for matrimonial property, or you need to go to file for divorce. It doesn't happen every year or every 2 years. It only happens hopefully once in your lifetime. So in that regard, we shall just do a one-off. We agree on a fee. Yeah.
There are many guys watching over here on YouTube. Poro says, lucky to be tuned in, enjoying the discussion. Gang, Abdallah is also locked in, and Smanzige locked in. Sheila Ombui says, Manu sounds so informed and eloquent. Where? Brian White says, such a candid and interesting conversation. Kudos, Emmanuel and co. Kuna mwingine anapenda hairstyle yangu. Naram, shout out to you, Natasha, by the way. Naram says, tuned in all the way from Qingdao, China. Sheila Amboy says, I love the new look, Manu. Uko free twende Azerbaijan this weekend. Hey, Maze, I'm killing it. Man. Maybe I'll need you as my lawyer in marital law. Cheki bwana Wakili, nimepata huyu nani Sheila na nataka twende Azerbaijan. Bashir Iza, you guys, itabidi ushikilie issue.
You have to assume, you have to prove presumption.
Sidio. Bashir is trying out some vocabulary. The guys watching us on YouTube, we're gonna jump back to X, so you can continue listening to us on X. Shout out to you, George Raphael. I see you, insightful convo. That's what he's saying. So jump on X, Radio Gen on X, and then send in the voice notes.
Yeah, the number is 0116928683.
Yes, we are hanging out over here with Wakili Ngugi. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back.
It's 9 o'clock.